What's up, guys? This your boy Jay. Welcome back to our channel with Life with Jay&Nay. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about a serious conversation. Not a serious conversation, but something serious that happened to me when I was 19. So basically, when I was 19, I had got into a bad car accident. And that's something that I really don't talk to about. And I never had a chance to talk to anybody about besides my wife. And that like that's like something that changed my life for the better, but at the same time the worst because I was in a dark place when I was 19. But I never really talked about it out loud besides with my wife, like I said. But this like a story that I just want to share with you guys. And I know stuff may be hard in life, and I know you may go through stuff in life, but it's like at the same time, it's like if your significant other or your family member can help you come out that dark spot or space or whatever. Talk to somebody that can help you through your rough patches and stuff like that. But yeah, but when I was 19, I'm being hard headed. My daddy had passed or whatever when I was what 13, 14 or whatever. And I was getting social security check from my daddy, so I think I was getting like $500-600 a month. And when I was 19, like a couple of days before my birthday, they messed around and had gave me two checks, so I had got like I want to say like 1,200 or whatever. So 19 got 1,200. Like that's my first time ever having that much money at one time. I know it's crazy, but I'm in school or whatever, got home. My mama called me, she told me I got a check in the mail. So I just had got a check the day before, then that same day, the next day I had got that check. So I was like, what's the worst that can happen? Being young is stupid. So I decided to cash that check. So end up having 1,200 or something. And trying to be grown and have no license. Wanted to just hurry up and get a car so I can try to do something on my own because I grew up less fortunate or whatever. Had dealt with a lot of rough stuff in my childhood or whatever. And I know people that know me, they probably don't know I went through this, or some people know I went through this, some people don't know I went through this. But, I had got took basically when I was 16, went to foster care, but I ain't really go to foster care because I went to stay with my auntie. But that's gonna be another story that I'm gonna have to tell you guys. But back to the story. 19, cash a check or whatever, trying to be grown. Messed around and had got decided to get a car. Just for I can drive to school and all type of stuff. No, I ain't got no license, trying to be grown. So I messed around and ended up getting a Mustang, I think a 1996, 97 Mustang, drop top or whatever, two-door. And just trying to be grown, trying to basically, just was ready to get out my mom and them house because it was hell, man. But, end up getting the car. The car was messed up or whatever. Not thinking nothing of it, just made a dumb decision, which everybody do. But, end up getting the car or whatever, driving around or whatever, going to school. My daddy told me, he was like, it's either you gonna sit that car down or you got to get the F out my house. So I'm like, well, bump it. Because at the same time, I'm like, man, I got this car, like I got other places that I can go to. I mean, shit, growing up with people, your own parents stealing your money to use it for drugs and all type of stuff. So it's like, at that point, I was like, well, I got my own car, I might as well just go ahead and leave home. So I decided to leave home, which is the thing I regret. I wish I would have listened. But I want to say on my birthday, on my birthday or whatever, my wife at the time, it was my girlfriend, she wanted to take me out somewhere. So I'm like, okay. So we did it, went, And then that day on my birthday, because the car was so old that day on my birthday, when I got back that night, the key messed around and broke off in the ignition or whatever. So I that was a sign right there, not being strong in God and stuff, not looking at stuff the right way. But the key broke off in the ignition or whatever, so I had to sit the car down, and that's when I was smoking black. So I just had need to go to the store so bad, man. And then I want to say the 22nd or 23rd of September, a couple of days after my birthday, my cousin and my uncle was like, you still could drive the car, whatever. You just need to get a screwdriver and they'll crank right up. So I'm like, I don't know, man. So my cousin went in the house, got a knife, tried it with a knife, couldn't do it. My uncle came out, did it with a screwdriver. So I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, hey man, I'm about to go to the store, go get a bless. So my cousin was like, all right, man, bro, I'm gonna ride with you. So I'm like, all right, we took off, made it to the stop sign. Instead of me going right, because going right or whatever, it's quicker. It's like 2 or 3 minutes down the road. Me wanted to be dumb and young, wanted to cruise around the block before I go to the store, which I should have just went the right way. But I proceeded to go straight. Ended up going around the curve. It was like they was working on that road, so it was like slippery and stuff. So I think the speed limit was like 35, which I was probably going. They was trying to say I had to been going by 70 or 80, but I'm like, anytime, just because it's an old car, like I said, it had troubles to it. I mean, just because it was an old car thing, when you get past 50, 55, like the car starts shaking real bad. So I was like, I wasn't going that fast, but going down the road, ended up trying to go around the curve, trying to hit the brakes or whatever. The brakes ended up going out on the car or whatever, and they ended up hitting a brick wall. So, me hitting a brick wall, I guess I ended up passing out or whatever. My cousin, he was in the passenger seat, and I had my seatbelt on, and he didn't. And, I ended up passing out, ended up coming to or whatever. And then next thing I ended up, when I, started opening my eyes, I seen smoke and stuff. Everything was like blurry at first, and then when I came to, I was like, oh shit, Maverick. So, I'm looking around me, ain't see him in the passenger seat. I look behind me, ain't see him, so I seen the window bust out and the top was pushed back. So I'm like, oh shit, like my heart just really started racing. So I'm like, man, what's going on? I'm like, I knew what was going on, but not really. So I got out the car panicking and stuff. And I'm like, Maverick, looking for him, not knowing at the time I had internal bleeding and I had a cut in my, or a gash in my head. So I'm thinking, oh, I must be sweating or I'm getting shaky, but I must be, sweating or something. Like my whole face was just pouring down. So I'm like, oh shoot. And at the time, I think I hurried up, got out the car, closed the door, looking around and stuff, looked in the front, looked in the back of the car, looked in the front of the car, looking on the ground. I ain't see him at all. So I'm like, well, damn, did he come with me? And then next thing I know, when I finally, walked back to the back to look up under the car, I don't know what I was thinking, just looking around. And then he just happened, was like, JJ. So I'm like, oh shit, look. He was in the back. And he was like, man, bro, what the fuck? I'm like, bro, how the fuck you end up in the back? He was like, man, bro, I had jumped in the back. The next thing I know, he fell over. So I'm like, what the fuck? And at that time, he had a gash in his head. It's like I could see his skull. So I'm like, oh, shit, I started panicking and shit. The next thing you know, when he fell over, like, I seen, I don't know what it was, his guts or what it was, man. And then I'm like, oh shit, and people running down the road to check what the fuck happened. They seen it was me. Like, man, bro, you scratched. I'm like, hey man, Maverick, like he in the car. Everybody being dumb, the car ended up catching on fire. And people, they have no fucking right of, helping. I mean, they supposed to have help, but it's like at the same time, when you're in a car accident, you don't supposed to really move that person. You get what I'm saying? But, people want to be people. I'm like, man, the car on fire. They was like, hey, man, we got to get him out. I'm like, nah, man, nah, because, you know, ain't no telling what's wrong. I'm like, shit, you see his head, you know, basically you can see his skull. I'm like, man, you see his skull and see his stuff, you know, his guts hanging. I'm like, man, don't touch him. They was like, man, we got to, man, the car about to catch on fire. So at the time, not thinking, we end up moving him, putting him on the ground or whatever, put him on the ground, which at the time I ain't know his neck was broke. And when somebody break their neck, you don't supposed to touch them unless you know you a professional or whatever. So they end up touching him or whatever, put him on the ground. And you know, me seeing him not moving, I knew it wasn't good. And me being scared and stuff, I'm like, man, bro, come on, man, bro, you got to get up, man, you got to get up. And I replay this back in my mind damn near every day. The only thing he said was, JJ, help me, man, bro, please, cuz, help me, man, help me, please, bro. And I'm like, Brett, man, bro, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. And at the time I'm hearing the ambulance coming, and he just like, man, bro, please, please. And to see somebody take their last breath calling your name for you to help them, like, that, bro, that's like a whole nother hurt, bro. And it's like, I ain't give two fucks about me, bro. It's like I'm up walking and talking and he just laying there. So when the ambulance came there, they automatically just went over there, put the white sheet over him, and it was like, that right there just broke my spirit, bro. Everybody was like, man, JJ, man, you need to sit down, man, you chill, relax. I'm like, nah, man, I can't. Like, man, bro, what the fuck I'm gonna tell his mom and daddy down? Well, basically his daddy. I'm like, man, what I'm gonna tell them? And, you know, seeing this daddy come down there and crying and stuff, and seeing everybody crying and me being all right, I'm up walking around crying and stuff, ain't giving 2 cents about me, bro. You know, the ambulance told me, like, hey, man, just sit right there. Hold on, man, we got to get you. Like, I'm up there coughing, spitting. Them like, man, bro, you got a gas in your head. I'm like, man, bro, I don't care nothing about me. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, man, I just killed my cousin. And they was like, man, nah, bro, man, don't think about it like that. So I ended up getting in the ambulance. They ended up taking me to the MCG, the hospital or whatever. And, you know, they operating on me and stuff, putting IVs in me and stuff. So we ended up getting to the hospital. They ended up taking me in the room, put me in the room by myself. I think I was in that room for about 20, 30 minutes by myself. And I'm like, well, damn, like, what about me? I know, you know, I ain't have no insurance or whatever, so I just felt like they just put me in there just to basically die. I don't know. Like, they really ain't give 2 fucks about me, bro. And, you know, the police ended up coming in. And then, no, I think his dad ended up coming in. Basically, it was like, what happened? So I told him the story. He's like, okay. He's like, man, you know, when you get out or whatever, you know, man, you gonna chop it up. We're gonna talk about it. So I'm like, all right. And the next thing you know, the police ended up coming in. They was like, yeah, you know, you got to take a pee test. So I'm like, all right. You know, I don't smoke, so I don't, you know, I don't drink at that time. So he was like, all right, took the pee test. He came back in. He was like, okay, you clean. I'm like, I told you that. Like, I don't do no drugs. Like, I don't even drink. So at that time, he was like, you know, what y'all was about to go do. I was like, I was about, you know, going to the store to go get me a black. He was like, oh, that's what you use for your blunts or your weed or whatever. I'm like, nah. I'm like, you thinking about guards or whatever. I was like, Black and Miles, they like cigarettes, they blacks, man. I was like, man, you thinking about a cigar. But they hit me with, was like, yeah, you know, cousin had 2 ounces on him. I'm like, okay, what they got to do anything about a car accident? They was like, so, you know, he had drugs in this system. I'm like, okay, like what they got to do with me? I know I'm the driver, like I don't got no drugs in my system, that wasn't drinking or none of that shit. So he was like, all right, you know, we're gonna get back with you. So I'm like, oh shit. Like, my life about to change in the blink of an eye, man. And you know, next thing you know, end up getting out, stayed in the hospital for probably about 4 or 5 days, end up getting out, went home. As soon as I got out that day, his mama and the detective ended up coming to the house. So they was like, yeah, we gonna, oh snap, sorry about that. We gonna end up charge you with vehicle manslaughter, whatever it is. So I'm like, bro, what the fuck? And at that time, I'm like, I ain't know what to think or do. So they came to, sitting down at the table, showing me pictures of them laying on the ground and in the morgue and stuff. And by me saying that, like, the shit broke me because I was 19, he was 17. So it's like at the time I was like, why me? You see what I'm saying? Like, I stayed going through stuff all my life, man, with foster care, and DSS, growing up, and then 16 DSS, and then 19 this. So I was like, man, when shit gonna get better, bro? So, they showing me pictures and shit, like, I broke down, like, fuck, bro. Like, I just couldn't believe it. But I should have already knew. People was telling me, like, some stuff about to end up coming your ways. So, skip to a couple of days later, hearing about the funeral or whatever. So I'm like, man, I got to go. My auntie had to, was telling me, she was like, man, you don't need to go because people talking about harming you. They want to, kill you and stuff like that. So I'm like, well, damn. I'm like, for what? Because at the time, like, people was like, close people that I know, bruh. People was like, oh man, he was racing, or he jumped out the car, or he killed them on purpose, or it was about 11 stories going up. The thing, I'm like, if I jumped out the car, like, I'd have been scraped up, broken, whatever. If I did it on purpose, like, what was the motive for me doing it on purpose? Me was racing, where the other car was at. But I was like, man, like, people just had all these stories and shit, man. It was like, at that time, like I said, I was in a dark place, man. And to hear people saying they wanted to kill me, getting death threats, all type of stuff. So I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm, be able to shake back and move on with my life, and having a parent that's on drugs and you can't talk to, and having people that's in your family that you really can't talk to. It was like, I just basically wanted to end my life, to be honest. I don't know, I just ain't had nobody to really talk to, man. So me trying to be a strong person, trying to move on, I think 2 weeks after the accident, probably a month after the accident, I'm like, man, I got to go back to school. So I end up going back to school. People was like, oh man, bro, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you're alive, man. So I'm like, okay, it felt kind of good. And as the day going on through, school, the first, second, third period and all that stuff, just start hearing people like, hey man, I wish JJ would have died, all this type of stuff. Man, that was my cousin. Man, JJ should have died. I'm like, damn. Like, man, bro, people really hated me, man. But at the same time, I'm like, y'all forgetting too. Like, man, bro, that's my cousin too. Like, y'all ain't making sense, bro. So after that, I was like, man, fuck school, to be honest. I'm like, man, I'm not going back to school. And then hearing this people talking about it, like, why my son had to go, why he couldn't go. It was like, I'm like, damn, I'm hearing that shit at school. I'm hearing that shit at home. So it was like, I barricaded myself up in my room, man. And it's like, to be honest, I don't even know how I end up coming out my room. I don't even know how long I stayed in the house or nothing. It's like, I just tried to hide from the world, man. I know it wasn't good. I know I needed somebody to talk to, but who could I talk to, man? Like I said, mom was on drugs or whatever. Stepdaddy was working, ain't really care. My brother, I don't know where my brother was at. My sister, I don't know. And it's like, it was hard, man. I mean, just to hear people that you know and people that used to care about you to say, oh, I wish he would have died instead, or, I just couldn't do it with the world, man. And I just felt like, if I was no longer here, stuff would be better. But it took for me to meet, well, to put Tanae through some stuff, my wife through some stuff, to try to stick it out because she's a God-fearing person, and it's like for her to stick through my corner when I was abusive during that time, verbal abuse, physical abuse, whatever you want to call it, like I'm not proud of that, man. Like I said, it's like anything somebody said wrong is like I snap. Like I ain't give two fucks about life, man. And it's like when I look back at it, it's like I ain't care if I lived or what. It's like if you said something to hurt me, like I'm gonna try to hurt you, man. If you did anything, and I know which it wasn't good, and it took for her to really love me and to forgive me for the things I did before we could be here today, man. And that was 10 years ago. And it's like I still sit there and think about it every now and then. Like when September come around my birthday, it's like I think about it like, damn. Like, man, this shit crazy because when it's been 10 years, like, for me, it feel like it was a couple of days ago. You see what I'm saying? And, I mean, stuff get better in life and stuff get hard, but it's like, if you don't got nobody in your corner, man, you gonna completely fall off, man. You gonna completely be depressed and have anxiety and all type of stuff, which I had. And it's like when I had that, after that car accident, it was like I was dreaming about him and stuff. And the thing was, it was crazy because he was coming to me in my dreams like, hey man, bro, come outside with me, man, bro, come ride with me, or come go somewhere with me. So I'm like, something, you know, not being into God and like that and being in the church, like I had to ask my auntie about it. And she was like, I don't think it is. He don't know he dead. So I was dreaming about him every day for about 2 or 3 months, man. And I just had to, it was one night he had came to me in my dreams. You know, seen everything plain as day, knocked on the door, opened the door, seen it was him. He was like, man, bro, what you doing, man? I was like, nothing, chilling, man. He was like, man, come outside so if we can chill or talk or something. And it's like I had to break it to him like, hey, bro, you know, we was in a car accident and you died, man. And I was like, man, please forgive me. I ended up closing the door, and that was like the last time ever I ended up dreaming about him. But like I said, man, this is one of my stories that I never told nobody besides my wife, man. She the only person I told that I tried to take myself out of, and I wanted to take myself out, and it's just seeing this people, them, it still is like hard for me to try to talk to them, and I know how to talk to other people. They was like, you know, you should try to reach out and talk to them, but it's like it's hard, man. I don't think I'd never be ready to do that just because that's not how I was raised. I always was raised, you know, to keep my mouth shut, and it's like going through stuff is like I felt better to keep everything within. Like when death happened, it's like I keep everything in. It's like when something happens, when I go through stuff, I don't try to talk to nobody. I don't try to reach out to nobody. I just rather deal with my inner demons, basically. I mean, I ain't mean to try to talk you guys' head off, but that's one story that just felt like I need to share because I'm pretty sure other people that's going through stuff can relate to my incident. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, as long as you got somebody in your corner, man, do not give up. I mean, life was beautiful, man. I mean, to be honest, if I would have died, I wouldn't have been here for my firstborn or my secondborn, the third or fourth. Like, it wouldn't be no life with Jay&Nay. It wouldn't be no Jamari, Christian, Rhea, Milani, them. And I don't know, man. But if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys can relate, if you guys got a story that y'all want to share, I mean, comment down below. Let me know y'all stories, man. Let's try to spread the love, the positive. I mean, we all we got, man. I mean, at the end of the day, don't give up on life. Don't give up on hope. Don't give up on your dreams, man. At the end of the day, somebody do you dirty, still try to do the best that you can do and treat them the best, man. Because at the end of the day, karma is a bit. I mean, I know I done did some stuff I wasn't proud of. There's gonna be another story I'm gonna have to tell y'all. Like, I'm 29. Like, I got plenty of stories that I could tell y'all with people that's 30, 40, 50 ain't never went through. I mean, I feel like I was left here for a reason. I got a purpose in life. I mean, I got beautiful kids, got a beautiful wife, trying to do this YouTube thing. I mean, I can only go up from here, man. I'm not about to let nothing stop me from my dreams. I'm not about to let nothing slow me down from whatever I'm trying to do in life, man. I'm trying to make the best out of it. I'm trying to make Maverick happy. I'm trying to make my stepdad happy, my mama happy. I'm trying to make my family happy, bro. Because at the end of the day, it's like, on my mama's side, it's like, ain't nobody a lawyer or a police officer or a millionaire. It's like I want to break this family curse by doing this YouTube thing, man. And give my kids the better life. If you guys can relate, man, please comment, like, subscribe. Don't be no stranger. If you see this to the very end and hear me saying this, like, man, show some support, man. But part 2, I promise you. Nah, it ain't gonna be no part 2, but I'm gonna talk to you guys about when I had got took at 16 for 2 years. I had to stay with my auntie. How hard that was for me. But just keep faith, keep motivation. Like I said in my inspiration video, don't lose faith. Keep grinding it out, man. It ain't gonna happen overnight. You gotta put in work just to get to where you wanna be at. I mean, if you feel like you wanna give up, don't give up, man. I done gave up so many times before. And it's like with this thing, I'm not gonna give up. I got a purpose, man. I want to keep living. I want to feed my family. I want to do so much stuff for my wife and my kids. But this gonna be the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn your post notification on, and I'll get back with you guys later. Peace.